My name is Bill Means from Oklahoma Sioux Tribe. I want to ask you a question that seems to be a double standard of justice that we're reading about now, is that when it came to changing the site, we probably wouldn't even be here today because the site of the original pipeline, as I understand it, was north of the city of Bismarck. But yet when the city was asked for all these various environmental, etc. questions, they wanted the pipeline moved because it might contaminate their drinking water. And so now we have it moved. Let's contaminate downstream, but they don't realize at Bismarck that, I guess, water flows downstream. So now they want to contaminate the rest of the Missouri River Basin, clear down to the Gulf of Mexico, but started with the Indian people. And what happened, how was it so easy? That's what I say, double standard of justice for the city of Bismarck to move the pipeline. When we asked, we got to demonstrate, we got to get arrested, we got to be attacked by law enforcement, we got dogs sit on our grandmothers, our horses. It just doesn't seem like there's justice involved when it comes to Indian people. So what is your reaction on the easy time that Bismarck had in changing the location of the pipeline for drinking water?
So my reaction would be to communicate the facts. The facts are, out of a 1,261-page environmental assessment, if you look at pages 9 through 12 of that environmental assessment, which is publicly available online, so I'm only asking you to read 3 pages, we go into depth on the different alternatives for the routing, and the evaluation criteria that was used, it had nothing to do with the input from the city of Bismarck. That was based on a scientific analysis, based on the impacts to the environment, the impacts to fish and wildlife species, the impacts to wetlands between the 2 routes. And the fact of the matter is, when you look at that evaluation criteria, you'll see that on the east side of the Missouri River, almost anywhere on the east side of the Missouri River where you have the glacial till lands come down, it's riddled with wetlands all the way through. And every time you do any kind of infrastructure project, there's significant impacts to the environment, significant impacts to wetlands. On the west side, where the glacier wasn't there, you're in uplands, it's mostly grazing lands, it's less impactful to the environment, and that's essentially what drove that decision, was a routing that was less impactful to the environment overall, on the understanding that it was going to cross the river somewhere, and there is a crossing up closer to the Garrison Reservoir that's already in, but there was going to be a crossing somewhere, and then the rest of the route was to be least impactful, and they ended up choosing that route because it's already along an existing gas line easement that went in 1983. The ground there had already been disrupted at one point, and it was the easement was already in place in a lot of that, and they decided that, and we concurred with it in the environmental assessment, that when you take a look at the criteria that's based in environmental law, we have to comply with law with an alternative. It's called the LEPA, the least environmentally damaging practicable alternative. And that analysis is on page 9 through 12. You can see the criteria that we evaluated, and in that particular case, that drove us to select, and drove the pipeline company to select the route that they did. And then that's what they submitted permits on. We only have jurisdiction over about 3% of the pipeline by federal law. We're only allowed to write permits and exercise jurisdiction on those areas where it crosses waters of the U.S., which is what we did. And in that particular case, we have to take the permit applications from the applicant on those as they come in. And so I know there's a lot of mythology around there about why the route was selected for what it was, and there's a lot of hearsay, but I would just encourage everybody in the room to take a few academic moments, and I refer you to the environmental assessment and read those 3 pages to find out the facts, the publicly available facts of what our scientists did there.
Thank you, Colonel. I got a couple of presidents here.